public lecture entitled Democracy and Corruption by His Excellency Mr. Morgens Lykketoft from National Parliament of Denmark. I'm so sorry if the pronounce is difficult. I'll try to learn it this afternoon. Mr. Lykketoft and the delegation are visiting Indonesia to visit the Indonesian Parliament. I understand it is under the scheme of Interparliamentary Union. It is an honor to have you in Indonesia and to host you at University of Indonesia. For the first program, I would like to invite Rector of Universitas Indonesia, Professor Dr. Gumna Rusliwa Sumantri, to deliver his welcoming remarks. Please.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good afternoon. It gives me great pleasure that we have with us today His Excellency Morgens Lykketoft, the Speaker of the Danish Parliament. He is a member of the governing Social Democratic Party. During his political career, he has held posts such as Finance Minister and Foreign Minister, and has also been a leader of the Social Democratic Party. Mr. Lykketoft, welcome to the beautiful campus, beautiful green campus of Universitas Indonesia, and also welcome to everyone who are coming here today. We are very happy to have you here in Indonesia because it will give us also an excellent opportunity to learn a little about your country, Denmark. I'm pretty sure that you people in Indonesia know that much about it, except perhaps for pop group Michael Learns to Rock, who are very popular here as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, Denmark is one of the Nordic countries. It is now run by a center-left coalition led by your own party, the Social Democrats. The party leader, Helle Thorning-Schmidt, is the country's first female prime minister. Denmark has been called a role model for Europe and the rest of the world. You have a dynamic economy and a very solid social security. Denmark is a welfare state. You value economic equity for all your citizens. You also have a dynamic liberal labor market. Denmark has a number of characteristics. Firstly, educational qualifications are distributed quite evenly with both men and women working. Secondly, a progressive taxation system distributes wealth to pay for public services such as education, child care, health care, and the care of the elderly. The third here, between rich and poor is less than in many other countries. And the poor taxation is heavy but does not harm employment. This is a very, let's say, good system. Yeah. It has a highly effective and user-friendly public sector where corruption is extremely rare. The Danish model shows that it is possible to provide both economic growth and also social justice. This is an attractive model, but is it applicable to Indonesia? This is a very important question. So, lesson learned from your country, His Excellency. I would like to ask you, could we pursue social democratic policies here in a large developing country with a very different characteristic to Denmark? Can we achieve economic growth in the globalized economic market without sacrificing social and economic justice and democracy? Could we be prosperous and share that prosperity equitably? These are very basic questions. Indonesia is now being characterized very differently than it was a decade ago. We have democratic government, a strong economy, a free press, and strong social institutions. We also are now investing more in higher education. Perhaps, most importantly, we have traditional values such as tolerance and harmony, and we have a staggeringly rich cultural diversity. At Universitas Indonesia, we have been trying hard to make the change that are needed to transform a highly respected public university with a century and a half of tradition into one that can truly compete in the global marketplace. We are not there yet, but we have made huge progress. For example, our world ranking has gone from 395 to 217 in just 5 years. The number of publications in international journal increased tremendously. So from a few number into almost 400 articles annually. Your Excellency, we are representing one of the oldest and the biggest university in the country. We established in 1849 during the Dutch colonial period, and we have now 50,000 students with 6,000 faculty members. I think that Danes and Indonesians have much to learn from each other. For example, it will be good if our civil servants were able to provide a similar quality of service to the public as yours. Exchanges and training in public administration will help to fight corruption. It is also apparent that you are people who value press freedom, and this is something we have seen get stronger in recent years here. Ethics and principle in the news media might be another area for us to talk about. On the other hand, Indonesia, being such a diverse society, has a great deal of experience in areas such as cultural and religious diversity. Ladies and gentlemen, perhaps our value of social harmony could be something to assist Denmark in its integration of immigrant workers into society. Universitas Indonesia is very ready to contribute to strengthening ties between the two countries by developing exchanges in the field of higher education. There are many areas related to national development and larger global problems where we might collaborate, including on climate change issues, energy security issues, etc. One of these areas is indigenous knowledge. It is well known that Indonesia has huge diversity. Indonesia has over 700 languages, making up 30% of all the world's languages. You might know that we have, let's say, about 17,000 islands. With the increase of the, let's say, sea level, we don't know how many will disappear in the near future. Many of these communities are repositories of traditional knowledge of plants, agriculture, and medical practices. Yet, because they are small, they are under threat of extinction. I'm aware that there are world-class scholars working in the areas of language and endangerment. The rights of linguistic minorities and the impact of global English on local languages and on economic development, of course, here, who come from Denmark. One is, sorry for the spelling, Top Skutnab Kangas, I don't know how to spell it, a retired professor from the University of Roskilde. The other is Robert Philipson, a professor of the Department of International Language Studies and Computational Linguistics of the Copenhagen Business School. We will be extremely happy to have Danish scholars such as these visit us and to generally engage in academic exchanges and join research with Danish universities. However, for the moment, we wish to hear from you about Denmark, Your Excellency, and your plans for cooperation with Indonesia. We look forward to your talk. Hopefully, we will have time for questions. Mr. Lykketoft, the floor is yours. Thank you very much.
Can I introduce you for a moment, Your Excellency? I would like to introduce you first. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Lykketoft is the Speaker of the National Parliament of Denmark, and he's also the leader of the Social Democrat Party. He graduated from University of Copenhagen and has been in several ministerial posts like Minister of Finance and Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Mr. Lykketoft is the right person to talk about democracy and corruption for many reasons, but for this occasion I will only mention two, which is that firstly Denmark has a long tradition of democracy. National Parliament has been introduced, democratic parliament has been introduced since 1849. So we, I think, need to learn a lot from Denmark with what we have done in Indonesia so far. And secondly, Denmark has been considered as the second least corrupt countries in the world. The Transparency International has ranked Denmark in number 2, surpassed only by New Zealand, in the Corruption Perception Index 2011. So, Mr. Lykketoft is the very right person to talk about democracy and corruption. Please.
Thank you, Madam. Thank you, Rector Gulimar, for all your warm words and wise remarks for the introduction of our visit here in this beautiful campus of the University of Indonesia. I have seen the poster here as an expression of how our two national flags are interwoven on this very day. And that's a pleasant experience, because we have received, both here at the university but also earlier on in our visit to the Parliament of Indonesia, very much warm reception, and we have already had good discussions with leading members of your Parliament here this morning. We have looked forward, the five of us in the Presidium of the Danish Parliament, for a long time to this visit in Indonesia. Maybe a few remarks about why we are here. Denmark is far away, yes. We are 5.5 million people in the northern part of Europe. But challenges at this time and day are global. Most of the problems you are fighting with are also problems we are fighting with and have to contribute to solutions upon. Rector Gulimar mentioned the climate change challenges, which are very putting more and more heavy burdens on especially some of the poor developing countries of this world, where we, in our part of the world, in Europe, in the United States as well, have a strong obligation to be in the forefront in trying to combat global warming, to reduce CO2 emissions, and in that way also contributing to the solution of the problems you are facing in this part of the world. But in addition to that, you can say that this is also a field of big opportunities for mutual cooperation. Danish companies have developed important technologies in energy conservation and renewable energies, in environmental energies in general, where we can contribute also in this part of the world, and in fact Denmark has had a program of cooperation with Indonesia exactly on these issues, and are still going on with it. We have of course also looked forward to come to Indonesia because we have observed the rapid transition in your country. We have observed that you are a powerhouse of economic growth in recent years. You have this huge population, around nearly 50 times as big as our population. You are the largest working democracy of Muslim majority population in the world, and you are to an ever-increasing extent a front player in strengthening the regional cooperation in this part of the world with ASEAN and all the other regional institutions in Asia and Asia-Pacific region. So for that reason we have, and we are, I should add, in Denmark, little Denmark is now, this first half of 2012, had the presidency of the European Union. So we have, I think, a common interest in working with the strengthening of regional organizations in order to fight global problems. So that's some of the reasons why we're here. And you have asked me to give some remarks on Danish experiences with democratic development, fight against corruption and so on. I'll try to do that, and I will also try